Hello and welcome to today's video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hi, my name is Sumner. My wife and I are full-time e-commerce entrepreneurs as well as world travelers, and over the past year have traveled to 4 different continents because of this e-commerce business that we've been building over the past few years that has literally changed our life. And essentially how it works is we identify products that people are searching for on Amazon.com, and either A, these customers can't find very good options, maybe there's not very good quality products, poor reviews, not very good images, or there's just no product options whatsoever. So once we identify this type of product opportunity, what we do is we create our own product from scratch and basically ship in a test order of these units into Amazon's fulfillment warehouse. We start selling these products, so as people search, they find our products. Our products solve their pain point better than anybody else, so they buy our products, and obviously we make a profit on each product that we sell. It's all done online, so this has enabled us to, number one, generate more personal income than what we were previously making at our past 9-to-5 jobs, and number two, and maybe even more importantly than that, it's given us the freedom to really focus on what we really enjoy and love, which for us is traveling the world. And we were recently interviewed by Ryan Kramer of Ping Pong Payments, where we go into kind of how we got into this business model, why we chose it, some of maybe the pros and the cons of building an e-commerce business or an Amazon FBA business, some of the pros and cons of living abroad as an entrepreneur, as an individual, and kind of all of that overview. So if you're interested in kind of building a business that funds your life and interested in getting into e-commerce, or you're one of the surprising number of people who has asked for a little bit more personal information about Allie and I, just kind of our overall story, our lifestyle, a little bit more about our business, then this video is for you. And if you're looking for videos that are a little bit more specific, step-by-step, in-depth tutorials, we have many videos here on the channel on all different topics regarding e-commerce, such as product research, how to source products, how do you even create a product from scratch, how do you write an Amazon listing, how do you advertise and market as a beginner. Be sure to check out the playlist section of our YouTube channel, because I guarantee there's at least one video here on this channel right now that can drastically improve the quality of your life starting right now today, and hopefully this video will help you do just that. Lastly, if you like the video, let us know by giving the video a thumbs up. If you have any questions about our business, lifestyle, or anything else, let us know in the comment section of this video. We'll be responding to all comments as in-depth and helpful answers as we possibly can. We're here to help, so if you have any questions, let us know. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get to the interview.
Welcome to the show, Sumner and Allie Hobart. Guys, welcome.
Hey, thanks for the intro. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I had to ask you guys where you were located, because you're constantly traveling the world, like you said, just kind of making e-commerce work for you and your business. So why don't you kind of give us a quick background, where you're located, where you guys are, happen to be this month, this week, however often you guys are traveling, when you can. Give us some background on what you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, you go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we're Sumner and Allie Hobart, full-time Amazon sellers and e-commerce entrepreneurs, constantly testing basically different passive income ideas to see if they actually hold up, how well they work, and how well they can actually fund our lifestyle. So right now we are in Mexico. Our plan right now is travel as much as possible before we have kids. So that's just kind of the overview. So we've been in kind of Turkey, Costa Rica, Brazil, parts of South Europe, and have a lot more destinations, which obviously right now, a little bit more difficult to travel. So it's been a little bit kind of limited. But on one end, right, we really love traveling. We really enjoy it. So that's why we're doing it. But also, and maybe we can kind of dive into a little bit more about this. Another big reason that we travel is because we can actually keep our kind of personal living expenses and even certain business expenses at or below our previous expenses living in the United States, which is where we are previously located in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Even with flight tickets and other things, because of the cost.
So not just for enjoyment reasons, which obviously that's a
plus.
It's also a business decision as well, which I think a lot of Amazon sellers and kind of e-commerce entrepreneurs don't really necessarily consider.
Yeah, and what I actually personally know a lot of like quote unquote digital nomads, which obviously if you have the internet, you have a laptop, you have everything you need to either record or to watch or see what your business is doing, and you can connect with the proper business entities. You can do this anywhere in the world theoretically. Is that kind of what you guys are like? Why are we doing this in Cincinnati, Ohio? Exactly. As much as I love the Midwest, I live in the Midwest. In the United States, I love My wife doesn't like Cincinnati, and that's a separate story. That's because she keeps breaking down on the bridge going from Kentucky to Ohio. But that's a different story. But anywhere in the world, that's fantastic. So like, what led you guys to that decision? You said before family. Is it just like, hey, let's go? As simple as that?
Many things.
Yeah, many things. If I don't control myself, I'm going to dominate the conversation. So maybe I'll let.
No, yeah. However you guys want to do this, I don't want to make any like arguments or anything. But this is the first 2-on-1, so let's make sure that I'll make sure. Maybe I'll point out one to the other. Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so I'll just say some things on top of my head, and you can add on, of course. Okay, so a few reasons. First, so I'm originally from Brazil, and then I moved to the U.S. for college, and that's where we met. So, and I lived a little bit in Bolivia, and I've always liked traveling. And Sumner as well. He moved all over from his family. His dad works for P&G, so he grew up in Canada, and always had this mind that maybe we didn't really have super deep roots anywhere. At least me, and I think him as well. So we never felt like, oh my gosh, this is where we belong necessarily. So that's there. But also we just wanted to see the world. We wanted to have more quality of life. And we kept looking at how much we were spending too in Cincinnati. I mean, we had a good apartment, but first of all, we hate winters. So at least, especially me.
Yeah.
But so every time there was winter, I'm like, oh, why am I here? And then once we truly became completely online, it was a constant conversation of like, we can do this anywhere. One of the reasons why we started on Amazon was for the flexibility of time. And so I could visit my family more often in Brazil too. And then we started visiting them more often, and we realized we're doing the same work that we were doing back in Cincinnati. So let's actually travel to other places. And while we're doing this, and then there was what Sumner said, like the whole cost of living. We saw that there were places where we could live even better than we were living in Cincinnati in terms of quality standards because of cost of living and the
for
rate.
our specific,
Yes.
Because obviously some people, looking at our lifestyle would be like, oh my gosh, I would hate to do that, which is totally understandable.
Right.
Because it depends on what your goals are and your personal kind of lifestyle choice. But for us, love traveling, love hiking. We're, I guess, a little bit more risk taking. We have no problem going to Bosnia, to, Serbia. That doesn't.
And we want to meet new people too. Like, I think that's a big deal for us. Like, we like seeing different cultures and all that. But did I forget anything? Any of the reasons why?
No, yeah, those overall for me, obviously I've always been very, I guess, kind of more financially focused. So I remember, and I don't know where it kind of struck me, but I remember sitting in our living room in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it was, I think February, it was the winter, and just thinking like, oh my goodness, like we're paying, what was it, $1,200 a month for this apartment. We're paying for this parking space. We're paying for maintenance for our car, still, paying down the rental and all these kind of costs. And we're just thinking, I'm like, man, the Brazilian reais or real, which is the Brazilian currency, like the exchange rate is so crazy. I'm like, and it's such a big country. Could we everything's online. If we just moved to another location, all of our personal expenses would be lower. Aren't there
and we could reinvest that money.
Yeah, and reinvest. So for me, I think, for you, maybe a little bit more lifestyle. I was definitely much more kind of business or financially focused. Honestly, that's one of the big reasons. Of course, then maybe living, like a short walk from the beach is a nice perk. But yeah, it was definitely kind of both those reasons. And we just thought, let's give it a try. Like, why not? We're young and just try to stay fairly healthy. So let's do this. This would be the best time.
So what year was this when you guys made this decision to hop on? This wasn't recent. This was a couple years ago, right?
Recent.
Recent. No, is it almost a year ago, right?
No,
2019, 2020.
In 2019, we had the goal, and that falls into a theme of creating an e-commerce business to fund the life that you want. So that became our goal. This is what we want to do, and we were working toward it for all of 2019. Yeah,
but we started officially started living abroad. Literally, we had an apartment sale. We sold all of our we sold all of our cars, almost all of our physical possessions. Now we have 2 suitcases of just our essentials, aside from our digital assets, right?
Right.
And we officially moved when was it?
We left 1 week before Corona became a thing.
Yeah, we left and kind of basically got locked into Brazil in a good way, just kind of got situated and it got stuck, which wasn't really a problem for us right before COVID hit.
Yes.
And then have kind of been traveling, since then, obviously cautiously and taking precautions where we can. And many countries are shut down. So we're constantly kind of keeping our eye out for where to go and all that.
So does that it's almost like a blessing too. Like you got there just in time so that you were able to almost escape for theoretical reasons. So you say like, the amazing escape plan, however you guys did it, that's amazing. And that's good that you've been able to stay healthy, but also travel as well. So what's it like, both revolving, so business wise, if I'm an Amazon seller, what's your first thing to say? Like, did you do this also because like, say like, hey, this is something I preach about, but also I'm doing it actively. So it kind of provides almost more of a trust factor. Like, hey, I'm doing the things I'm preaching about.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For us, like our kind of, online brand, like this and our content on YouTube and Facebook group and all that kind of stuff, that's really secondary. First, we basically kind of, we got started Amazon FBA without, making a long story short, not so, untypically, we're getting fed up with our traditional kind of jobs, great, all that, but just felt that our talents were being underutilized, that we could be doing, like if we did the same amount of effort and work toward our own business, that we could potentially, obviously have a much better lifestyle ultimately. So we came to that kind of thought, did a bunch of research, came across this idea of selling physical products on Amazon, solving pain points, through physical products and the whole sourcing and all of that, and really appealed to us. Launched our first product. First product right off the bat was, for us, very, very successful. It was, I think, I forget the exact numbers, but I think it was definitely making, the one product alone was making more than I was making.
It was definitely making more than I was making.
Yeah. So that's when we kind of decided to, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like, started launching more products. As it changed our life more and more, we're like, how does everyone not know about this? So we, if any friends or family are tuning in, we told everybody. At first, we were super secretive because we're like, oh my gosh,
might not work.
Is this going to work? Is this a scam? Of course, because that's my mindset. I'm very, very skeptical in general. Or like, we'll keep it secret. Once we had success, we're like, okay, let's get a little bit more success, had our next product, and had, failures along the way as well and lost money. Ultimately, though, a lot of learning, ultimately successful, and started creating content. So that's kind of like secondarily, but primarily we're always looking, to improve our lives. And there's so many ways to improve, whether, emotionally, relationally, financially, and all of that. And realize that, for me at least, that lack of financial independence or lack of financial literacy does a lot more harm than people think. And that's honestly kind of internally one of my big things. Obviously, I know I'm big in we're big in the Amazon FBA space specifically. But overall, we, have achieved some level of financial freedom, not kind of entirely. We're still working toward many goals that we have for this year and next year. We're still young. We still have plenty to learn. But there's a lot that we have learned and a lot of things that have kind of changed our life. And we can't help but share it. And we're willing to test. That's what we are. We're kind of like test dummies. We go out. Let's see if living abroad, like theoretically on paper, it seems like it could work. But like, oh my gosh, are we just going to get robbed every day, right? Because America is the safest country on earth and everywhere else is dangerous and everywhere else is undeveloped and all of that. We're going to put it to the test and then report back on, does this work or does it not work? And we do that with Amazon. We do that with living abroad. And that's kind of how, I have no idea if that even answered your question, but.
No, it does. So what have been the most exciting things? Like I think about the physical assets, like you said, I'm going around in my suitcase. Do you feel like there's been this like freedom of connection of like physical assets that you just like, I don't need this, I don't need that. And like all of a sudden your life is condensed into a couple of suitcases. I've studied abroad for about 4 months or so. And that's the toughest thing the easiest thing is to travel because you don't have much with you. You can only take so much with you overseas. But then on top of that, do you miss like the ownership of like physical things like a car, being able to do that? Or, what's kind of that like in terms of that mindset for you guys?
Sometimes, it has, like we said, it has the benefits and there's the pros and cons for everything. Right. And, but for us, the pros definitely outweigh the cons. I will say we do have sort of a deadline. Like we've talked about settling down more
Mhm.
at the end of 2022. So that makes it, at least for me, more mentally, that makes it more motivating to focus on the benefits of this. Obviously, sometimes we miss the feeling of like home or having a home base or having even like, for example, a hair dryer. I don't travel with a hair dryer because it's so bulky and I don't always use it. And then some places don't have it. So I'm like, oh, I missed that, but it's not a big deal. Like it's not, and that's just a silly example, but that can apply to several things like a car as well, especially depending on where we are located. But definitely the benefits, at least me, because we have that deadline, definitely focusing on the benefits and knowing that we'll definitely going to miss a lot of aspects about this once we do settle down, even though we plan on continue to travel afterwards after we have our home base. But yeah, I would say that we miss the most is our cat. Our cat Lila.
Yeah, she's staying with so yeah, we kind of adopted this cat before we left. It was just stray and we took her in.
Yeah.
And our parents have been amazing and kind of taking her in and taking care of her while we're off traveling around, which is very, very, very nice of them to do.
That's for certain what we miss the most. Second will be
it's a lead up to children, guys. Let me tell you, you work them in with the animal, and then with children, that's how you get away.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a big part of the reason. Like now, like not having kids, and that's not really in the kind of the short term in our view. But later on, that's obviously definitely part of our plan, and we'll see kind of what happens. But yeah, settling down is ultimately, something or that idea, I guess, more of settling down is something we will do, I think, at some point. But now just kind of traveling around, really we want to see so many places. And we've realized, especially, some people know that we were not long ago just in Turkey. And it was crazy, that specific, it was obviously a really cool place. Rich with history. We're both Christian, and the amount of Christian history. There's also obviously a lot of Muslim history and just history in general from the Greeks, the Romans, ancient civilizations. I'm really into that. So that was really cool. Beautiful, like the Aegean coast and in Cappadocia and like the hot air balloons and all that. But also just, it was crazy that, so number one, being abroad, I read a lot of articles and kind of psychology and things like that because I'm always just curious, is that going to physically different places that you're not used to will kind of fire different neurons or create different pathways in your mind. So that alone, I think, has been going on without us really knowing. But also we've realized, like, there's a lot of stereotypes negative that we had about Turkey before going. There's one point we never even considered it. It was one of the few countries that was open. So that's what kind of forced us to do a little bit more research and consider it. Obviously, a really great conversion rate from the US dollar to the Turkish lira. Very, very good conversion rate. So the spending power in dollars is pretty strong there. But man, it was, some of the kindest, most hospitable people consistently. People super nice to stray animals. Just different random things. And I'm like,
and just as beautiful, like we used to really want to go to Greece and we still do. But after going to Turkey, we're like, that was so similar. The coast over there, a lot of people don't know that it's that beautiful.
It's literally life-changing. Aside from like people think about kind of we've also realized, you see a lot of these videos on YouTube that look really pretty and really cool. And then you go and you're like, oh, it's nice. But like, seemed like.
Yeah, it's color coded.
So we've realized
it's a filter.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with Instagram, right? Like, in some ways it's definitely, I don't know what the word is, less beautiful or less aesthetic, but then in other ways, definitely kind of better. And for us overall, it's been better. In terms of physical, because I know you mentioned specifically with kind of what it's like giving up physical possessions. At first it was kind of tough. Like we were literally watching our stuff go out of our home, like selling it, and the next person pretty cheap on Craigslist and just seeing it go. We're like, oh my gosh.
But they felt so good.
Yeah. And that's another thing with psychology is that in general, experiences tend to bring more utility than physical products. When you buy that new car right at the beginning, it's really exciting, really cool, and really sexy, but you get used to it pretty quick and kind of forget about it and lose that. So for us, and we're big into experiences, not necessarily spending a lot for those experiences. A lot of, like I said, ton of hiking, go to, a museum or kind of things like that. And for us personally, I think the pros outweigh the cons, but just like anything, nothing is perfect. So it's living abroad hasn't just been roses and.
Yeah. And then for me, I actually do get excited. Like I have a little note notes on my phone where I put down things that I ultimately want to have because of this experience. Like, it's exciting to plan as well. So I think both situations excite me.
Yeah.
What's the most surprising thing to both of you, either in a positive or a negative way?
In terms to what? To traveling?
Something where you started this journey, you're like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise, or you weren't thinking that would be a factor, or like have this mental like either burden on you, or also like this kind of like, oh, this is really nice. I didn't think I would actually like enjoy this experience or something like that. What was most surprising?
For me, there's, as you asked this, I think it's a great question. There's two things that really come to my mind that I share with everyone that I know. But one is kind of on the business side with our kind of Amazon FBA business, or really it's a private label business. Main sales channel is Amazon, although now we're expanding into multiple marketplaces. That whole experience has been life-changing in of itself. And the biggest change was from thinking, oh, that would be nice, into I can do this. And also realizing that there are different, there's the real estate space, there's the crypto space, and kind of like the stock market, there's drop shipping, there's all these different ways and viable ways to build wealth or to generate income, or whatever it might be. And realizing that like within each of these spaces, it's not really an if, it's I can do this. Like for example, if we wanted to get into real estate, which we don't, but if we did to build wealth and all that, we know we would be able to. We'd make mistakes, but we would know that, okay, there's a community that exists there's the legitimate people in that space. There's the cons in that space. We know kind of what to do in order to kind of find those legitimate people in that space, learn from them, focus on kind of the long-term versus the short-term. So that kind of mind switch from if to how and it's not just with business. That's gone from like working out. I'm like, okay, it's not if I want to, then I can. I'm still working on that. That's the a little bit tougher
2021 plan, right?
Yeah. Working out on that.
Working out on that. That was number one for me personally. And then number two is there was one point in my life where I never considered living outside the United States. Like, why would I? Because I grew up thinking, oh my gosh, everyone's trying to get in. It's so hard to get in the United States, which it is difficult to get citizenship. That's not a lie. But just everyone's pouring in. Everyone just begs and pleads to get in the United States. And some people do, but a lot of people don't. And I realized if I wasn't born here, I probably wouldn't be dying to get in the United States. It's a great country, but I realized that there's a lot of myths that I believe about other cultures and other countries. Some of them are true. And we've realized some evils that exist in the world, including the United States and abroad, that we were never aware of before. That it's a whole other conversation. It's probably not appropriate for this podcast.
Yeah,
we
keep that offline.
A lot of really positive things culturally, right? Turkey, there's great things about the culture. There's bad things about the culture. But you realize that like you kind of personality wise and with your lifestyle can mesh, or certain countries or places may make more sense to live than just kind of wherever you were born. So for me, again, for certain people, the US is the best country to live for multiple reasons, and it's a phenomenal country. So that's not what I'm not dissing it at all. It's just that there are other opportunities. And for me, that was huge. Like I never thought to live abroad. And now we are, I don't know if my parents are tuning into this. We don't know where we're going to end up. This is all we're going to say.
I was going to say, yeah, where's the home base going to be eventually? But we'll leave that for 2022. That's 2022 talk for you guys. Yep.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, because we're obviously it'll come up soon enough, and we've been thinking about that. A lot of factors that go into play, like including visas and residency, citizenship, passports, taxes is a big one. But aside from all that, and even with those included, the top two that are on our list right now are Spain and Brazil, and specifically Florianopolis, Brazil.
Yes, and not just anywhere in Brazil, because there's a lot of parts of Brazil we definitely don't want to live in.
Yeah, most parts I would never live in Brazil.
But if you're tuning in and you think about traveling Brazil, definitely go to Florianopolis. That is the best place to go.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And
it's safe. It's developed. It's comfortable. It's amazing. It's my favorite place in Brazil for sure.
And one side note on that, it was funny how this all worked out. I don't know if you know Anthony Coffrin. He was a former Amazon employee. Then he, I believe, co-founded Virtuous Graphics, and now he's like a partner or co-founder with PicFu.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
in Florianopolis, Brazil right now, which is where we spent 6 months kind of living there, and he's there right now. So there's other fellow Amazon sellers that we've kind of run into on our travels as well, which is really cool.
I was gonna say, maybe you've ran into Anthony Confrancisco of PicFu. Like he's traveling right now. I don't know if you've ran into him.
Yes.
That's him.
Maybe said cough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
this-
yeah, Anthony Francesco.
I
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say like, yeah, the last name always catches me, but I made that mistake before doing this live. We did a 2-part series on that, and
But,
I said, "How do you really say your last name?" Let's get this
oh,
straight.
yeah, 'cause you
exactly.
just
No,
said
no,
at the
that's
beginning.
fine. Yeah, I think he's traveling. Where did I see him? Like he's another person to follow on Instagram too.
He was in Sao Paulo, and now he's in Florianopolis, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's where he's at right now because he was stuck in the United States and he couldn't get out because he's originally was living in the Philippines or something like that, and then he was traveling around now. So
Oh,
interesting. Yeah. So Ali, do you have any like
Yeah, no,
what is
actually,
your
what
like
I was going to say, just actually definitely agree with what Sumner said. And, but in the way that I put it, completely agreeing with what he said, is the reason I love more and more and more our brand that is Escape. Because one thing, when we started, especially with e-commerce, we were thinking, oh, escape the 9 to 5, escape the financial illiteracy. I don't know, did I say that right? Do you know, like the escape the misconceptions that you have to work every day to get money. Like you could actually be sleeping and make money. That's something that for us now in e-commerce who sell online, it's something like, oh yeah, it doesn't blow our minds. But for so many people and for us before, I mean, growing up and going to college, that is the mentality that you're taught over and over and over is get a job and then you function in, like, like you start working and then you end working, and that's how you make money.
punch in, punch out? Yeah.
Punch in. That's you punch in, punch out.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I
you
got there.
understand.
Don't worry about it.
Yes.
No, exactly. No, it's not a problem. So like I've been to Spain and I love Spain. My wife loves Spain. Barcelona is probably one of the best places to go and travel. So never been to Brazil, but that was definitely a list that is continuing to get longer and longer as more I'm stuck at home here in Indiana. But what about so as an e-commerce business, you guys weren't initially in business together, right? It was Sumner, you were starting out, like you started it, and Ali, you kind of joined forces.
Yeah.
Is that how that worked out?
Ali knows a little bit. Ali's great with remembering dates, details. I am not. I'm very always future focused.
There's only one important date, Sumner, or I guess two: the day you guys met and the day you guys got married. Those are only two important dates.
You know when we met?
I do not. It was in October.
Yes,
I remember that. I remember the month.
in October.
Right.
I remember that it's like cold or it's hot. I can remember that.
It's right after your birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes. What was the question again?
about kind of getting started.
Oh,
with-
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, what was that story like? How you joined forces? Because I know Sumner when I was with Viral Launch, and like how he kind of started his business and kind of like started getting more and more education. And by the way, I had a comment come through I wanted to share you with you guys. Great course on teacher on Udemy. So shout out to one of your students. That's obviously a place that you guys can educate. Look, we can use a testimonial right here in Crossover Commerce.
Yeah.
Great course. Sign up for the Udemy course right now if you want to learn how to sell on Amazon. And of course, Lisa, good morning to you as well. Lisa's everywhere. She's constantly listening to 5 different podcasts at once. So
Awesome.
Lisa's probably on Clubhouse listening to us and then probably like doing research in her time at Nova Land. So anyways, what's the story like how you guys joined forces as a business?
Right. So it started, we both went to college. I went for architecture and he went for marketing and business analytics. And during one of his internships with the university newspaper, he started developing the service for marketing, for sales, flyers, posting flyers for small businesses around campus. And he went like personally to put it. So I think that's what maybe got him started on entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. But still, he kept going on in college and got a full-time job. But as he said, he definitely did not feel like his talents were being utilized, and he was miserable with the whole culture of that full-time job, being employee kind of thing. And with me, I actually enjoyed my job. I really liked my team and all that in general, but like I said, I did not like that box, that mentality of like, why can we do this differently? Or maybe it's because I'm from Brazil and there are so many holidays in Brazil that we actually get we get to relax and forget about work way more often than Americans do. So I at least kept being overwhelmed, and we would talk about other opportunities, other things. He always had this entrepreneur mindset. Then he created his own business at that time when he left the internship to do marketing for small business. So he always had that on the side, even if small. And then we ran across, we were looking at like passive income ideas or what, like stream incomes for millionaires, something like that. And
we probably came across a bunch of crap on YouTube then.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we had our fair share. Yeah, going through that.
I know we're on YouTube, but I know you guys also are, educated on YouTube, but we've all been through this. Like, what is this stuff?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like the first pill. And now that we kind of know, and that's what I kind of say, that entering other markets, if we ever wanted to, for example, to learn more about, investing in the stock market or crypto or real estate or whatever, we kind of know to look out for that. We know that exists, that kind of side of the industry, but it doesn't define the industry at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but anyway, so we ran across this, and I started watching some videos on YouTube, and I sent it to some, like, okay, I need Sumner for this. Like, Sumner needs, because he's so talented, he's so analytical and creative. His mind goes like, and I'm like just watching it go. So I was like, I need to get Sumner on this. So I pretty much like say, we have to watch this. Let's buy a course. And he started watching a bunch, me a little bit. He completely quit his job, his full-time job. He still had clients like for his business, for marketing for small businesses. And so he started on Amazon first, and I kept my job. And then when we realized we were making profit, that it was more than my full-time job, I went part-time and started helping on that. And then eventually I quit and stayed 100% on Amazon. He still had clients. And then in the beginning of 2019, he quit completely his clients. And then we became fully on Amazon and online. But it was like this ping pong sort of thing, how we started.
And, that works.
And I know. And now and then we started expanding. He's so good, in my opinion, at teaching. Not just good, like I know everyone says that, but Sumner, more than anyone, he really cares. And maybe our student here can verify what I'm saying. He really cares. And that's why like we bought our course for $500 when we started, and it was crap.
Yeah, and we won't name any names or anything like that.
But it was crap. Like we were like, oh my gosh, we can explain this so much better. There was so much information missing or misinformation. So he started making videos, and he's like, I'm just gonna make a course, an affordable course. So our courses on Udemy are like $15, $20 because we truly want to help people. And like a lot of people actually buy the course and never watch it. But the ones who really want to, because it's cheap, but the ones who really want to are always like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this information is changing my life. And so we started expanding into, we sell on Amazon, it's successful. Let's teach people how to do it. And let's actually live the life that we want. Because now this is possible, and show people how they can do it too. So that was a long answer, but
anyway. She's watching real time, guys. She's watching real time. She said he answered all of my questions.
Oh,
it's very impressive. Also, if you want to visit China, look at that. You already have a hookup.
Wonderful. No, we definitely, definitely on our list for business reasons and otherwise. Definitely
100%. Same here. My boss in China keeps saying, "When are you going to come visit us in China?" I go, "Well, when I'm allowed to, I guess when I'm allowed to, like when it's okay to, like, I guess, like, I don't know when that looks like."
Let's go grab, I know this great restaurant in Wuhan. Like, let's go.
Let me hop on over. Let me drive there. Let me get over there. So, but anyways, I know, in terms of traveling, a lot of people are like, obviously China, a lot of people are talking about like sourcing from India and whatnot. So what's the list of, sorry, if there's more to the story, would love to obviously hear, like, if you guys maybe like, day to day, like I would love to get on like what you guys do to like conquer divide. But like in terms of the traveling aspect, what's on the list, the short list of things to hit up next, like countries or locations or things to do? What's on that list for you guys next?
Yeah, no, for sure. So one thing quickly kind of going back that I just wanted to add is, so Kevin Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, had some really great advice, and it's not new, and a lot of people know this, but talking about entrepreneurship, and we knew this as well, but we were a little bit, maybe even jumped the gun a little bit too soon, in our opinion, kind of looking back, is a lot of people think entrepreneurship, if someone's listening and interested in getting into e-commerce or just starting some form of online business, that it's like all or nothing. Like I need to, just jump in, quit everything and just hope that it works. They're like, no. You hustle on the side, and maybe there's certain nights that you sleep less, you're working weekends, building up this other business on the side until it makes sense for you to kind of quit. And we were somewhat at that level. What we would have done differently is I think we had like a couple products up. I forget exactly.
Yes. We should have waited a whole year before we jumped, because we would then go through all of the seasons. We realized our super best-selling product was a summer and maybe
seasonality.
Season product. So
exactly. Yeah. So we realized, and then obviously there's cash flow issues with that and things like that in the beginning. Would have been stressful anyway, but less stressful. So that's just one advice. And I think it's wonderful advice, very, very practical. Build up your business on the side. And then once it makes sense for you to kind of make that switch. And also, of course, especially if you're planning on building a lifestyle business from your e-commerce business, you need to be diversified, right? You shouldn't be worried every day, like, oh, if Amazon shuts down my account, what's going to happen? Amazon's great, an amazing place to start, in my opinion, for e-com. Personally, I know people will disagree with this, but I think Amazon's the best place to start. Tapping into the existing marketplace, very easy to analyze demand overall, find opportunities for new products and all that, and then expand outside from that to Walmart, eBay, Etsy, your own website, expand internationally, all that good stuff. So that's just kind of one thing I wanted to touch on, just because something I wish I knew maybe a little bit earlier on when we started, and. Actually, now I forget the question. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm thinking like, day to day, like how are you guys conquering and dividing for your business?
For sure. So with me, we've kind of basically what we did, and we talked a little bit with Sharon even about this previously, which I think you kind of saw a little bit of that. But we basically kind of analyzed, we're like, okay, once we started getting our business going and realizing all the kind of necessary components, as well as some of the ways that would be good to kind of scale up the business, we thought, okay, here's what we need to do and execute on a weekly, daily, monthly basis. Here's how much time each task takes. And then also, what are our kind of overall aptitudes? And obviously we have different skill sets. So we're wearing multiple hats, of course, as any entrepreneur is, but we did the best, especially starting off and what we do now, separate those tasks based on our abilities and based on kind of the time, to where Allie's not working, like 80 hours a week and I'm working 10 hours a week, hypothetically, kind of balancing out as much as we could. So for me, it's a lot of product development and kind of strategic planning, copywriting, keyword optimization, all paid advertising, some kind of inbound marketing as well. And then Allie, you're more.
For me, it's more of the logistics, the sourcing, and the shipping, expanding to new marketplaces, all the technicalities with that, finances, graphics, and social media presence and all that, even though I haven't been doing a very good job lately. But anyways, so we separate the departments.
You had the tough job in 2020 figuring out logistics.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that. Like, that's what a lot of people are like.
It's a balancing, but I like Sumner said, when you diversify, it takes so much pressure off. Like right now we have about 34 SKUs, which is a lot less than a lot of Amazon sellers, but we put a lot of thought into our products. Like we really want to make it the best. So it's not just like 34 things, drop shipping kind of way. We really meaning 34 SKUs. So I don't know how many products and then variations. So what's good is that some of them did have more inventory than planned. Some of them completely ran out of inventory, but we were able to balance it out a little bit because of the diversification, even within Amazon having different SKUs.
Diversify within kind of your main sales channel platform, and then also diversify outside. And diversifying, the more you diversify overall, the better. And like you kind of mentioned, our next plans, we have a lot of goals for kind of 2021. One big goal for me next is outsourcing. That's our big next thing, because we're kind of tapped out at this point. Yeah. We enjoy the work that we do and we love it, and we do enjoy working. We realized I had a conversation with Neil Hoffman. He's the creator of Mensch on a Bench. He was kind of on Shark Tank. It's basically Elf on a Shelf for the Jewish community is basically how he kind of describes it. Brilliant guy, really, really successful product and sells a ton on Amazon. Amazon's, I think, his biggest sales channel and does a lot there. And he was talking to me and it was like, and he lived not far from where I did when I was in Cincinnati. And he's just like, yeah, like I'm working like 10 hours a week right now and I'm miserable. Like I need to find things to do. Because we always think like, oh, this life of just sitting on the beach with like a margarita and just all day, that's miserable. Honestly.
Yeah. I was gonna say entrepreneurship in general is more like, what can I do next? Like, what can I do next?
Yeah.
Looking for like things to do instead of like relaxing more.
Yeah.
Definitely. So definitely kind of a balance, because at the other end, right, it's like working a ton. It also sucks, right? When you're only working, you get like very little kind of dopamine release. That you're like, okay, I need a little bit more of a balance, and we're still kind of finding that balance. But realize that we're not afraid of hard work at all. Never have been. We enjoy the work that we do, but we're realizing, okay, there's a lot of these projects where like, man, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. To do that, we have to free up the time, especially with some of these, honestly, like $8 an hour or even lower tasks that we're doing. We need to kind of free up that time.
Yes.
So,
but one thing that I was gonna say too, actually, to complement what he was saying, and actually to touch on the theme of today's podcast, is that before we separate everything, especially our routine, like you said, like we, since the beginning, and we're constantly revisiting this, we meet and we write down like, what is the life that we want? Seriously, because that is going to determine not only our routine, but the things that we take on and pass on. So we talked about like, okay, we want to work, like he just said, we don't want to work too little or too much. So we've been finding like, oh, maybe 20, 25 hours a week. That would be like the goal, at least.
Yeah, which we're not doing right now. But
at least while we're young.
That's the goal.
So that, what do we want to do? We really want to help people. Like I said, like the escape sort of theme, not only escaping the financial side, but also the mentality of thinking that you have to do something a certain way. You have to live in this place because that's where your family is, or you have to have kids. I don't know, the mentality that you're boxed in. So the escape theme, and so on. And then it goes into like the little details of our life, what we want, what kind of place we want to live in, what kind of community do we want to be plugged in. And then we look at the projects that we have. Are those projects taking us to that goal? And I will say, even yesterday, it's not completely done, but we pretty much just passed on an opportunity that could have been huge, but that did not align with our life goal.
Yeah, like maybe on paper, certain opportunities might look good, like revenue-wise or even profit or cash flow-wise, but they're not in line with your personal goals. So that's, and maybe we should have started the whole conversation with this, but definitely a very, very important first step to kind of period, just anything that every single human being should do is analyzing based on what you know now. And we know very, very little in terms of all that could be known. We know almost nothing, but based on what we know, what specifically, and like getting down to like hours, dollar amounts, individual names, like what do I want my life to kind of look like, or what, like, just, and not just like describing in detail kind of your ideal life, and like, okay, what realistically, even if you based on what can find just Googling and YouTubing, can I do to best achieve that? And this is what Mike Michalowicz mentions, I believe Mike Michalowicz, in his book Profit First, or it's was it Profit First, or it might have been Clockwork? Shoot, I forget. But anyway, doesn't matter. He mentioned something that really stuck with me, and that is, as entrepreneurs, many times we get into there's ups and there's downs. And sometimes, especially in the beginning, when we get into those downs, we will do anything to get out of that hole. And a lot of times you kind of think about it about like this piece of paper, and it's like, we're here and we don't want to be here. So we'll draw an arrow and basically do something to get out of that hole. But that direction that you go could be the opposite direction of your goal. So kind of always thinking about that, even in tougher times, does this ultimately, bring me more in line with my goal overall? Yeah.
And in that too, I've been reading a book that's called The Nomad Capitalist. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it blows your mind too, in terms of the possibilities of location independence and all that, because we are digital nomads, but we're kind of like a step up in terms of we're entrepreneurs, digital nomads, because you can be a digital nomad and work for a company and all that, but we are building something. So there's an extra for example, tax purposes and all that. So he talks a lot about taxes and how to take over take the advantage of different places around Earth, that especially with tax purposes. But what I was going to say is that he says, and I love that, is exactly, a lot of people just run away from something instead of towards something that they want. And yeah, granted, like a lot of times pain is really good, is a better motivator than I guess a gain or a pleasure. But it's much more important for you to realize what you want to run toward than just from, because you could end up in another place just as bad or worse if you're just running away from something. And another thing, like about e-commerce, someone just asked me yesterday, do you think it's, because we're talking about our life, like in our life plan, they said, do you think Amazon FBA is a good way to start? And I said, absolutely. I think, like I said, because it breaks that first barrier of thinking that you have to work a minute to get 1 minute pays of worth. And like Sumner said, in terms of e-commerce, the audience is there and all that. But with Amazon FBA, you realize that you don't have to handle inventory. You don't have to touch things. You just have to have your laptop, be the middleman, be strategic and creative. And that opens up your mind in ways that you don't realize. And then you can see the next step and the next step. And then
And in the same token, we've had a lot of friends, because of course, in the very beginning, when we were like first starting out and everything, and Amazon really started kind of changing our life, or our private label business, we started telling our friends, and we're so willing to just give free info. Like, we're just so excited to share this with you. And and understandably, a lot of people were just like, sounds like a scam, sounds like whatever. Like, it's, okay, it's fine. I'm willing to do this for free. And now, things with these podcasts, with some of the content, getting more subscribers, all that, people are like, oh, like people actually listen to you. People actually, I'm like, yeah, like when I said this is changing your life, like, and I'm showing numbers and I'm showing specifics, I'm like, I'm not making this up. And this is not like this, there's real opportunity here. And people start asking us about it. Some, I would say, yes, this starting a physical products business. We had a friend of ours who's a product designer who's in real estate. I'm like, let's look at the numbers and cash flow and all this kind of thing. You should definitely consider this. And we helped him to launch a product. He's now moving out of real estate, potentially selling his triplex and getting full-time into physical products. Yes. And at the same token, we've also told people, nope, in this specific model for e-commerce is not for you based on your goals. Nope. You will do this, you will not be successful. Yes. So it doesn't just work for everyone and work for every lifestyle. And that's where it's like almost really everything in your life to live a better life, period, whether entrepreneurship or not, or e-commerce or not, is, what do I ultimately want out of life, to the best of your knowledge? And you're going to be wrong about certain things, but
you keep adjusting.
Yeah. But having really hard having the conversations with, your significant other, if that makes sense. And so I think that's.
Yeah, no, what are you guys looking to eventually like exit your business, or do you think this is something you just want to be entrepreneurs, stay in e-commerce your whole entire life, or it's like exit certain brands, keep building new brands, kind of do that cyclical nature?
I'm personally kind of torn on this.
I'm too a little bit.
I think Allie's ready to exit, honestly. Not right now, because we're still, it wouldn't make sense. We're still building up our brand and it wouldn't make sense. But I'm so torn because there's so many things that we really enjoy the work that we do. We really do. I love copywriting. I love strategic. I love coming with a new product and crushing competitors, better images, better copy, better value proposition, running traffic. Then they don't know how to run the traffic. Like, it just, I love doing a lot of those aspects. I love sharing the information. There's a lot that we really kind of love doing about it. At the same time, we're Christian. We think about what is God's purpose for us on this earth. And we believe that this has been part of God's plan, for us personally, but we feel that we're ready that if we're called to do something else, even something completely undesirable, that we'd be kind of willing to do that. And we should be willing to do that kind of at the drop of a hat. But we don't really know what the future holds. We don't know if we'll get more in kind of the digital marketing or the digital nomad kind of space. If we'll stick with e-com or kind of what it looks like. But for now, it definitely doesn't make sense for us to, we really enjoy what we do. It's obviously, it's funding everything. It's funding our life. And we're so blessed that God has blessed us a lot.
And we've gotten more efficient too with the things. Even as we expand, some things become easier when you expand. It's easier to to manage. Actually, you might think that it's the opposite, but I think he said I'm ready to leave because I mean, the logistics side is tricky, and sometimes I get overwhelmed. And you know, like the way we take our business, it's not just make money fast or whatever. Like we truly want to build a business and a brand and have quality products, have good customer support, everything. We want to do everything. So we want to do things with excellence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if our face is on it, like this is since high school. If I was doing a project, it's going to be, you know, we're going to try to execute the best that we can. And we take a lot of pride then into our brand. And kind of sad the thought about selling it. But like I said, at this point, it's going great for us. We don't really have any plans, but I'm sure at some point we will. I think we would exit, at least with our brand.
With our physical brand.
Yeah, but
we might. But we definitely want to have a business. We definitely going to be entrepreneurs. And and I don't know if it's going to be digital products or you know, teaching, you know, other platforms. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is I see a lot of people, especially on the show or I hear them on YouTube or whatnot, they exit, then it's like a year later and like, I'm going to do that again. And they're like, I'm crazy to think about this, but I'm going to do it all over again. And that's what I kind of hear that from you guys.
You know, the entire, I totally understand that, especially when at that point, I'm assuming, you know, you have a pretty substantial amount of capital that you can kind of reinvest.
Yeah.
You know,
you have a nest egg and just do it.
So I could totally see that makes sense. And there is that kind of, I don't know if other entrepreneurs feel this way as well, especially those that are kind of a little bit further down the road than we are right now, who've sold maybe multiple brands and all built and sold. But oh shoot! Now
rush. There's a rush. Is that what you're gonna say?
Well, there's that, and also kind of the starting from scratch thing. Like again, we try to execute as best as we can with all of our brands. You know, social media on Amazon with our campaigns and all of that. But kind of like starting fresh from complete scratch. Just that idea, I'm just like, oh, that just sounds kind of nice. Maybe if we would do it, to be, you know, a little bit more efficient and better. So
wait, but now I want to actually answer your question about the next places we want to go because that excites me. Yeah. So we have a little list and we're like, okay, we're going to be happy settling down after we hit these places. If we cannot travel ever again, at least we're going to be happy traveling.
Yeah, and these could be some good then options as well, or ideas of certain Amazon sellers. And by the way, this guy that we follow, especially he's known as like the Nomad Capitalist. Oh yeah. All about digital nomads and kind of like, you know, international arbitrage, you know, earning in pounds or dollars or a strong currency and spending in a weaker currency. So he has this kind of service side of his business. One of his biggest clients for consulting are Amazon sellers. So that's actually something interesting as well. Yes. So, you know, we're doing it, but we know that there are many other Amazon sellers or just kind of e-commerce sellers in general that are doing something similar.
Yeah, seriously, look up his book, Nomad Capitalist, and he has a YouTube channel too. I like devoured all of his YouTube videos.
Really eye-opening.
Yeah, especially with this traveling thing. So exactly, there are a lot of places we would love to visit, but just like with one thing we forgot to say, sorry, before we say that, is that with our goals, a lot of things that we look at is the amount of time that something's going to take because of the lifestyle that we want. The amount of time something's going to take before the return, obviously the size of the return and the type of maintenance afterwards, because we want it obviously as passive as possible with time, especially. So with that too, we also look at, that's right. He shared the link. So we also look at places that we get the most for our money. To not only so we can have a better lifestyle, earning the same thing, but also so we can reinvest more in our business. So it's not just out of wanting luxury, which I don't actually think we seek luxury most of the time. But so, for example, we would love to go to New Zealand. But New Zealand's so expensive, and there are other places that, in my opinion, are just as exciting that do not cost as much. So in the Americas, the biggest place we want to visit next, because we've been to Costa Rica, Mexico, and Brazil. And the biggest place we want to visit next is Peru. Definitely, nice. That's like the top one in the Americas. Is there anything else that
Peru, Mauritius.
That's in Africa, yeah. So Mauritius in Africa, the island, and then in Europe, you know.
Croatia, Bosnia, Slovenia, of course, Spain. Italy, Spain, Portugal.
Which we've been, but we want to go back.
Singapore, we'd like to go to China, Japan. So some of them, typical, some of them not as typical.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are definitely
more Eastern Europe.
well.
But yeah, more Eastern Europe, which is I heard is just as beautiful. Like I said,
Yeah.
Turkey that you guys have been. Peru, if you know Daniela of Mindful Goods, she's actually living in Peru, so you should reach out to her.
Yeah, for
Full-time.
sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that might be our
so
next destination, depending on how things kind of
If
work
it
out with
opens
COVID.
up,
But
Yeah,
for sure.
She moved from Chicago. Like she was doing like some like winters in Peru and summers in Chicago, which makes sense. Duh.
Yeah.
And then, but she's not full time in Peru. So yeah, you should reach out to her.
Oh,
For Mindful
definitely.
Goods. She's doing copywriting. I mean, if you know Mindful Goods, yeah, she does. Copywriting, SEO, Amazon. She's doing the Branded by Women event too. So
yeah, I did not know that she was in Peru. That's awesome.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
definitely
Yeah. Definitely reach out. Tell her I got it right. I said she was in Dominican Republic. So I mean,
Close enough,
it's
right?
well, not close enough.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
insulting. Yeah, I was gonna say that's not even close. Like it's insulting to think that, but trying to keep where everyone is in the Amazon world straight. Like I said, it's a mind boggle. Really quick question before we have to hop off for you guys. We had someone from LinkedIn, actually Rajesh Gupta, ask, what is the investment required to start an Amazon FBA? And I will prerequisite this. It depends on your product and depends on like where you're going to sell. So with that caveat, do you guys have a suggestion?
For sure, 100%. And this is something that we get asked this all the time. So number one, choose your model. So certain models so anything that you want to do will cost time and money. Certain things will require a lot more time and a lot less money. For example, you want to start a YouTube channel? Go start a YouTube channel. It'll take you a while to start getting subscribers and all that, likely. Doesn't cost hardly any money, just some equipment. Where in other cases, more capital is needed, maybe a little bit less time, and sometimes a lot of capital and time. So there's that. There's those two things that are unavoidable that everyone wants to avoid. You can't avoid them. So for example, if you have a low budget, maybe drop shipping, print on demand type products would be more of your route. Otherwise, for kind of what we do with, Amazon FBA, physical products that we sell on Amazon, not drop shipping on Amazon FBA or anything like that, but actual creating our own brand of products, buying in bulk and selling those on Amazon, making profit, reinvesting that profit and all of that. It completely depends on your product. It will cost thousands of dollars. You cannot get started with hundreds of dollars for that specific model in almost probably every case. There are ways though, if you have a lower budget, because that's what people ask this question because they don't feel they have a large budget or they don't want to get started because
for a side hustle. Yeah, exactly.
More capital, more risk. Totally understand that. Don't go after all these ridiculously competitive products. The higher the competition and the higher generally the search volume on Google, on Amazon, the more competitors there will be and the more difficult it will be if you're new to marketing, new to e-commerce, and the more capital to get more products. If it sells better, you're going to need to order more products. Yeah. So focus on my overall, and we can go into a lot more detail. We have videos about this, of course, but identify specifically less competitive products. They may not generate as much, revenue or as much profit, in terms of dollar amount per month, but really great to kind of learn the ropes, especially with just Amazon FBA and kind of getting started. And you can potentially get started. There's certain products, I think we invest like 3 or 4K.
The lowest we did was 3,500.
And we do some of the work ourselves as well. So maybe around 4K, but usually for us,
5 to 7. I mean,
least,
it depends.
Yeah.
It depends how much you buy because you could buy less and go a lot slower. Yeah. If you don't want to run out of stock and all that.
So like around, it can be done for 5 to 10K. There are many sellers. Definitely. I know there's other sellers that have been here that have invested far above that for multiple SKUs and all of that. Of course, those that have more knowledge of the industry and kind of done it before, but low competition products with, a few to maybe several $1,000s. And if that's like, you're like, hey, that's not for me. All right. Then if that's your mindset, keep in mind, then you're going to spend a lot of time in something else. You can't escape that. It's either time, a lot of time or a lot of money or
and also both. At least the way we do our business and that we teach is that we don't chip in out. We don't go for the expensive. We always do our research. But if this is truly an investment, don't just do any product photography. Oh, let me just put it up there and see if it works.
Yeah.
That's so many people go about it with that in mind.
Yep. A couple quick, and I know we're already over the time. But
you're fine. Go ahead.
I know there's certain sellers listening that probably definitely need to hear this, and I wish I heard this. But number one is, I'm going to give Amazon FBA a try. If that's your mindset that you're going to give it a try, you're going to fail. If that's your mindset of I'm going to try it out, no, it's I'm going to make this work to the best of my ability. I'm going to put my best foot forward, is what I'm saying. You're still trying. Right, there's still risk involved, but it's the mindset of, oh, I'm going to give it a try. Like I have people message me all the time. Sumner, I tried drop shipping. I tried, investing in stocks. I tried Amazon FBA and they all failed. I'm like, that's because you're just trying and you're probably also listening to bad information. That's number one. I forget what number two is, but that was the most.
The chipping out, maybe that's what you're gonna say. Because a lot of people just with the images, especially, or just like, oh, let me see if I get any traction, and then I'll actually do something. And that is a completely different product. If you just try it and don't actually improve the product or use whatever.
Yeah, Me Too product image with like images from your supplier and absolute crap copy and all of that. And then, oh no, why is I'm spending all this money on launch and
Amazon FBA didn't work.
I'm falling off the first page. Oh my gosh, I got negative reviews. It's like, you got to use common sense with it. It's not magic. Yeah. It's a lot of common sense and people treat it like it's magic. So don't treat it like it's magic.
That's a good shortened way to say like you're investing either time or money. And even me personally, like I've built an e-commerce brand with other people's products, but me personally, it's like selling on Amazon. Again, it is either time or it's money. And it's when are you going to jump into which one? How are you going to, what's that roadmap? And I think that's what you guys painted beautifully here on the show. I'd love to talk more with you guys, but I know you guys have things to do. I have to hop on with a PR company here. I'm already late for them. But no, this is more important. I want to thank you guys for hopping on this podcast and sharing your information. I know we put your YouTube channel, Sumner, on the show notes, but what's the best way if people have questions, learn more from you guys? What's the best way to reach out?
Yep, no, for sure. So you can find us on most on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok as well. We have some content there. You just type in Sumner Hobart. We're actually currently working on branding and rebranding. Again, this is kind of a side thing for us. Our main thing is our actual business, and the sharing of that information has been for a while our side business. So we've not put as much kind of effort into that branding wise and everything. So you can just find us Sumner Hobart on all those platforms, and plenty of free content that's actually valuable. Actually, we're very tactical. We don't talk about high level, general stuff. We get really specific on here's how you make a shipping plan. Here's how to set up profitable Amazon PPC campaigns. Here's how to do product research for low competition products, all of that. So,
and for our travels, we have the Hobarts Abroad.
Yep.
Instagram.
So our last name, Hobart, it's Hobarts Abroad. If you guys want to follow, see some of our videography and stuff like that. So in case you're interested, but yeah. And thanks to all the people that are, I see the comments in here.
Great info. Yeah. Again, on LinkedIn. Again, if you're watching this or listening to this later, go ahead and check them out on social media. Again, all of them are in the show notes, but Sumner and Ali, thank you so much. You guys have been fantastic. I love this comment. More than happy to have you guys come on. Let me know. Again, we'll be more in touch about other things. And I can't wait to see you guys grow and travel more and, keep living that dream. And I'm glad you guys are finding success in what you guys are doing. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us on. This has been a real blast, and we're really blessed for sure.
Yes.
We'll have to meet up again in person whenever that is. When the world is either in Cincinnati or maybe in China. Who knows? Like in 2022, exactly. Like one of the comments said. But yeah, thank you so much for hopping on, guys. We appreciate the time.